Good afternoon. This is the Municipal Facilities Optimization Committee meeting of December 18th, 2024. We do have a quorum, and this meeting is called to order. First on the agenda, we have review and act to approve the meeting minutes of November 20th, 2024. Any questions or comments? There being none, do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of November 20th, 2024. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And, okay, so that is approved 4-0 with one abstention.
Right. There wasn't here.
Very good. We do have one bill to pay this month to Vertex Companies in the amount of $11,649. Any questions around that?
This is the last one on the original baseline, right? Remember the breakdown?
I think
that
so,
you gave?
yeah. I think so. I have to look at to see if it lines up with that original, if it's moved into
I
the,
thought there was a balance still.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you bill it or not,
Yeah.
but I saw a balance of 15,000
yeah,
remaining.
probably. I mean, that's how it's
Yeah.
There's still
runs.
15,000 left?
probably, yeah.
I'm trying to,
That's how we typically go, is not quite up to what
Yeah.
is there.
Their services is rendered anyways.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's not lump sum.
That's-
OPM is not lump sum.
Right.
okay,
Yep.
I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the bill and warrant to the Vertex Companies for $11,649. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted unanimously, 5-0. Next, we have an update from Vertex, who we just paid. So Steve, you are up.
I'm ready. Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
So we have a few things. There've been some great site visits out. I'm gonna let Amy and Rick get into some detail with some of the consultants and visits that have happened over the last couple of weeks. So we'll have them get to that. We'll go through some of this stuff first, and we'll, as part of their update. So what's been happening over the past few weeks is, especially through Matt, there's been a bunch of documents coordinated to make sure everyone's has all the current documents and reports and all that, and delighted to receive some of the old archive plans from the buildings as well. That all helps the process move forward and to check for documentation. So that's some of the activity that has been happening in terms of the contract and the update to the contract. I sent out execution copy last night. Amy called me today and said, I've got a couple things. So we just have to look at a couple things, I think, to look at on the execution copy. We'll get that fixed, and Amy will have that tomorrow. So that's the status of the contract. So the big topic is, or a topic with a bit to it, is the CM at risk status. And that is that the solicitation, the RFQ, request for qualification, has been sent out. And I have a handful of dates here from that solicitation. The responses to that solicitation, so those are qualifications, are due back on January 2nd. The next date in the solicitation is January 9th, and that is for the CM selection committee, we'll get to that in a minute, will come up with a pre-qualification and shortlist. I'll go there now instead of waiting. So tonight we want to establish a CM selection committee or subcommittee for that. And the members of that committee, all per the statute, is a member from the OPM, a member from the designer. And honestly, I know what we do on the OPM side is we all work on things, but there's one member that's part of the selection committee, but we all do things for it. I assume the designer kind of looks at it in a similar way. And at least two members of the from this committee. We know this committee. Everyone can be a participant in that if that's desired. The steps will be to review the submitted responses, the qualifications. If there aren't, sorry about my noise, the phone. If depending on the number of responses, either you can qualify all of them and shortlist all of them, or not, and depends on how they all look. So you might have a big firm that's done lots of projects, but not quite like what we have here, and decide they're a big firm, but they haven't really done what we're doing, as an example. So that's what that January 9th, let me turn that off. January 9th, pre-qualification and shortlist is about. Just pardon me as I just kill that notification. So that happens on the 9th, and so we just have to get a group together as part of this meeting to make those decisions on that time on January 9th. So the next day, January 10th, the RFP, request for proposals, will be issued to the shortlist that was just determined by the group the day before. And these are target dates, and we can work meetings to achieve these dates. So that's January 10th, the RFP goes out to the shortlist. That's a Friday. The following Monday, and this is all published in the document so that all those looking at it know these dates, is an informational meeting on site, and we'll develop exactly what that will be, but it'll be on that date. On the 24th, the responses are due. And the responses are in two parts, a proposal or a technical proposal and a pricing proposal, and those are separate. I'll get to that in a minute. January 24th, they're due. January 30th, we're targeting for interviews. And then by the 31st, to determine and make the selection by the 31st. So then pre-construction will start, if not before, February 10th. If you remember the documents, 60% set to be ready for estimators by the 15th. So by the 1st, or January 31st, the selection will be made. So it's a busy month of January with all those steps, but they're all mapped out. There's not a lot of time wasted, which we don't want to waste time anyways, but it's an efficient process. But we know this group is more than capable of being efficient with things, and so the timing was set up accordingly to get that CM selection on as early as possible to be able to be ready and then some for that February 15th date. The proposals, as I mentioned, come in a technical proposal and a pricing proposal separately. The process with those proposals is to, as a group or a committee, to go through the technical proposals, make a determination in ranking about which firms fit the project best, and after that is done, to then review what the pricing proposal may look like. And the committee is up to them to make decisions on who they select. It's just a process first to select the best fit and then determine what to do with the impact of pricing. Some items can be negotiated, the fee cannot be negotiated, but as an example, a general conditions number will be included, lots of numbers included. They're negotiable, but the fee amount is not. So if their fee proposed is 4% or whatever the number might be, that isn't negotiable. The rest of it is. So if the group number one happens to have a higher fee or higher other costs, you could say to the OPM, geez, would you go back and talk with them and see if they can work some of these numbers a bit to make it more competitive, so to get to a range that will be acceptable. However we determine we want to go about that with the information present at that time. And we'll have for that night, for the 31st, proposals are due on the 24th. The OPM can open all of those cost proposals and create a whole spreadsheet with all of them. So on the night of the decision making, you have a whole spreadsheet that outlines and explains all the numbers that were submitted. So, and again, those would all be reviewed after the conversation is about the best fit. And we were talking about that internally at Vertex. We have a good way of doing that because John typically would work all the number side, so he'll create all that, but wouldn't be involved in the other discussions on the best fit. I wouldn't know what the numbers are, and we'll participate in that discussion. So it, really adheres to the intent of the law here with CM at risk selection process well, because that's creates all the things. We'll have all the numbers at our fingertips, but it doesn't influence that first discussion. That is the CM at risk process and the plan going forward for January. So tonight we want to solidify that CM selection committee. Are there any questions or any thoughts on how we may want to go about that?
I just have a question on when the proposal's coming on the numbers.
Mhm.
So generally, in your experience, Steve, is there a lot of variables
Yes.
from firm to firm,
Yes.
and even on the fee?
Yes.
There is, okay.
Yep.
So there's a lot to consider then, based on
Yeah,
that.
and some firms are super busy.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, well, this is what we're gonna do on this project in this location.
Mhm.
Other firms may have a relationship and experience here and say, look, you know, we're gonna do everything we can to get this, and we're
Mhm.
gonna go in with this. So it varies completely.
Okay. And in your experience, what's the most critical pricing component? Is it general conditions? Is it the fee? Is it?
It all comes down to the math, because the general conditions is a function of how many months you're on the job,
Mhm.
expected to be on the job, and that creates, you know, a leveling number of X, whatever the math is on that, compared to somebody else that may
Okay.
have a general conditions figure. Whereas a fee percentage of 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, whatever that is, that's also math,
Right.
whatever that difference makes.
Right.
And that's what that's a good thing. We'll have all that, John will have all that mapped out. So we'll understand exactly what those numbers mean instead of just trying to react to, you know, opening envelopes
Sure.
and doing it. Yeah, so that's the great part about do that. All the analysis is figured out, and John will take everybody through all that
Okay.
on that night. Yeah.
Very good.
The only other item I had was just to note the scheduled meeting on January 2nd, the MFOC presentation that day, that we should talk about that just to make sure, just because of the timing of that, and to tell you guys about that. Which is the group that's.
No, it's the men's club, and we
Right.
actually have that, we can talk about in the outreach
Okay, yes, okay.
section of this.
Yes, I didn't want, when I was going
Yep.
through the calendar, when
Yep.
I came upon that, I said, oh, we're gonna mention that tonight to make sure we have that squared away. We have a couple of tours coming up, one for Friday, one for Monday. I could chat with you after just to make sure all that works. I expect it will, but yeah,
Yep.
okay. Into the subcommittee, yes,
As always, I have a lot of questions.
absolutely.
So on the second, we're getting the information out in hand, right? So
Yes.
This subcommittee, do we limit the number of bidders or is it wide open?
It's wide open, but to bidders that demonstrate the experience. So we'll review it and decide what,
On the 9th?
yes.
On the second?
We'll receive them on the 2nd, on the 9th, by the 9th, so whatever the meeting schedule is. And great example of this is general contractors, GCs 149, that want to get into the CM market may submit. And we may or may not want to have our project be their first 149A project. They have lots of general contractor 149 projects they have submitted, but we may deem that they're not qualified, so we may not pre-qualify them, as an example. Or, as I mentioned a moment ago, Giant CM may have lots of project experience, extremely well-known, but not quite what this is.
Okay.
And we may decide that so those are just examples.
So we can take, if it goes out to the general public and then we narrow,
Yes,
we're gonna narrow it down. So if we get 30 responses,
Yeah.
we can get it down to
So
what we want.
I'll tell you right now, so I'm literally looking at the plan holders list. So these are people that have taken it already, have taken the RFP out. There's about a dozen contractors, and I of those dozen, I know for certain that 7 of them are CMs, right? Like the other ones may just be site contractors or something like that.
Yeah.
But the other part of it, like there's a couple in here that I know them, and they're large enough that maybe they're doing what they're considering to doing what Steven's talking about. Maybe it's their first one, but yeah, there's about a dozen here, and like I said, 7 of them I know are CMs.
So these dates are really not where you need us to meet. We need to create a meeting schedule off of these dates that you have outlined to us.
yes.
Right, so that we can then come and say, okay, we get the information and by the 9th, we're gonna do, so therefore, we need to work our way down. Like the site visit, I presume that the short CM committee would have a visit with the site people or when you do your tours, correct? Those type of things need to happen.
Yes.
Okay. And you open at Vertec. Do we open them here or what's the process?
So we receive them here, right?
Right.
If you recall, it's just like the designer process.
Okay.
That the proposals come into us directly.
Vertex.
Typically, like we have the price and the non-price,
Right,
right?
right.
And then Justin and I will share those with the committee for review, like by the 3rd, I would suggest that we would have that, because we are asking for electronic also, and then that process starts from there.
So they do their evaluation, we can do our evaluation. Their recommendation, I should say.
So I think, so Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, like, we're gonna do a evaluation, we'll each get a report card, if you will, I can't remember what it's called.
Yep.
You know, and, you know, the OPM and the designer will go through that process just like we would go through that process. And
Okay.
Compile all that together.
Yep,
To potentially determine our short list. Doesn't mean, you know, if the numbers all don't match up, we don't have to take the person that's at the top or the company that's at the top, but that's typically how it kind of works.
okay.
Is projects underway, included in their pre-qual with valuation and?
Yes.
Yeah, workload is.
Yeah.
With the value of the project, we'll probably get an idea of size, okay?
Like, and again, just like the designer, they give us who the team will be for the project, what each.
I'm trying to look for that guy who's too busy
Yeah.
throwing that
Yep.
number in as.
Yep.
I believe their package needs to contain their DCAM update statement, so
Yep.
it'll have current information of what they're working on.
Okay. Then we do the interviews on the 30th. Then on the 31st, we select. And then we start right away.
Yes.
And the interviews would be the full committee, not the subcommittee.
That's to be determined, right? Like if we feel that all 5 of us are part of the selection committee, that's perfectly fine. We can do it in that fashion, and you know, same way we do with the designer. If you decide that, hey, only 3 of us need to be part of it, then we can do that too.
Okay. No, my understanding was that the subcommittee was formed to create the short list and narrow it down.
Mhm.
And then when interviews came, that would be in front of the full committee. Can it be done that way?
It can, you guys are in charge.
Yeah.
So,
I wasn't sure about the legalities of the process.
yeah, honestly, I've not been asked that question before. You create the subcommittee typically to bring it forward and then make a recommendation to the committee is
Right.
typically what the process is, but that doesn't, I've had committee members are not on the subcommittee attend, but not participate.
Mhm.
I mean, with this group, you guys should all be on the committee. You know, unless you don't want to be, you know, because you guys are all capable and efficient, you know,
What does everybody think?
unlike most committees.
I think whatever keeps us on the time schedule is the way we should go.
I mean, that's my opinion. I think all 5 of us work well together and
Yeah.
Okay.
get it done.
I'm fine with that.
So there is no subcommittee. We are just a committee.
Well, you have to appoint it per the law. The subcommittee includes everybody on the list.
Oh, so you have to appoint it
Yes,
and make,
So it's.
yes,
oh, okay, all
It's
right.
the
So it's
OPM,
legal,
so-
so the legalese is.
Yes.
We have a committee that's gonna evaluate it.
yes.
It
CM
happens
Selection
to be
Committee
also the
is.
same committee that we're
So
on.
Steve, it would be you then.
Yeah, so representative for the OPM, yeah,
Would
would
be
be
you.
me, and representative from the designer. You guys tell us however you guys want to determine that. Again, it's a voice, you know, and you guys do however you may want to handle the view and conversation and all those things. And everybody, if that's where you're headed, everybody on the committee also that would make up the CM Selection Committee.
Amy, do you need time to figure that out, or?
We haven't discussed it.
Right.
I think if we could get back to you on that,
Sure.
that would be good.
Sure. And then it would be the committee.
Yep.
Yeah, and we you know, even if we, you know, plug in our meeting on, maybe we plug that meeting in on the 3rd, and then we can do actually the 3rd's a Friday.
It is Friday.
Friday, isn't it?
We have a meeting. No, we don't have a meeting on Saturday.
Or we can do it on the 2nd.
We do the.
Well, we have the-
Yeah.
We have a thing at 9:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
But that's
So-
not a requirement for the whole committee to be there.
No,
Already
it's
have to
not.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was planning on being there.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, okay. Someone better post it then, because
Yep.
now we're gonna have a quorum.
All right, I'll stay away.
No, I think you should be there. It's a men's club. You're a man.
Hey, whatever takes less pressure off
You
me,
qualify?
Stephen, you're welcome.
I qualify,
Like,
yeah.
all right.
You beat the pre-qual.
So Steve, what do we need to do? Do we need to formalize this subcommittee? Okay, how do we go about doing that?
A motion to accept.
Okay, but we don't have somebody from the design team yet, though.
To be named?
Can,
Oh,
we
yeah,
can,
to be determined.
Yeah, I mean, that's the easy one, because a member of the design team has to be on it.
okay,
The agenda doesn't say that.
Yeah,
The agenda does not say.
yeah, we don't have the vote on the agenda, so I think we should
Oh.
probably push it. We should probably try and schedule that meeting on the 2nd. It's not gonna make a difference if we wait till then, will it?
I don't believe so.
so we can formalize the committee on the,
Later.
selection committee on the 2nd,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because we'll have a quorum
Oh, at that meeting.
at that, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
You could have a meeting briefly before or after
Yeah,
the minutes
yeah.
about.
Yeah, since it's gonna be posted anyway, we
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah.
And we'll do it right there.
Of course, I always have more questions. Is the, are you giving them a timeline, or are you asking them for a timeline?
Giving them. So,
You're giving them this, you're not giving them a construction timeline,
Right.
right?
no, we're giving them a duration. And so with that duration, they provide their general conditions, which typically is on a monthly basis, but it's per that duration.
But do you give them a start date?
Yes.
for construction.
Yeah.
For construction?
Well, for pre-construction, actually, which is
Right.
immediate, yes.
Mhm.
With an anticipated construction start date. Actually, Matt and John worked on that more than me.
Yep.
I can't recite, I don't want to put it on the spot, recite exactly what we showed in the solicitation for that start date. I have to get out to see what we showed on it, to be honest. But yes,
Okay, so they're gonna give you a cost of pre-construction
yes,
services
yes,
and then construction services.
yes,
Including commissioning and qualification and anything else that needs to happen
Yeah.
within.
yeah. Commissioning happens to typically be on the owner, but yes, everything else you said, yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Third party doing the
Yep.
commissioning of their stuff,
Yeah,
yes.
So
yes.
you're not asking the construction manager to do the startup and to do the commissioning and qualification? Well, you won't qualify anything here.
Right,
I'm back to my past life. Okay, I lost my train of thought. So you're telling them this won't, so can they say to you, well, you put 28 months, I think I can do it in 22 months? As an example, not that's the numbers.
yeah. So, yes, and that will appear when they provide the guaranteed maximum price.
Right,
Because that confirms the schedule and, well, the schedule and the associated costs.
Cost.
The general conditions per month is already established. So if everybody agrees that that's what this project ends up at because they can do it 4 months quicker, then that's what it is.
okay. But you're not telling them this is what it is. Oh, no, by the way, if you think you can do it faster, let me know and how you plan to do that. That's not part of this process,
Right, not yet,
not yet.
right.
Okay.
As we get there, the project's more developed. As they arrive at the guaranteed maximum price GMP phase, that's when that comes in.
Okay.
If a contractor did give you a complete date before, is that where his performance contractual requirements begin? If, let's say he didn't meet that date?
Yes.
Okay,
And it's, again, the CM at risk process is an open book process. Whatever doesn't get spent stays with the owner or it gets returned to the owner by change order, at the end. That's how that works. So there isn't a keep the rest kind of thing. He gets his fee and markup on money spent. That's all in and booked. But whatever doesn't get spent, if the money comes in less than, so in the GMP, there'll be allowances, I guess, the simplest way to explain. Contingencies and allowances will be set up in the GMP for various purposes. Happens on every one. That's part of the advantage of the structure of CM at risk. And if a $10,000 allowance spends $5,000, that money stays with you, doesn't stay with him. So the process, you don't have to agonize over $10,000 is really worth that much, because it all comes back and he has to be authorized to spend that 5 also by you. So that's how that works.
so my question is kind of, if he misses that date, he's not gonna come after our contingency.
Depends on why.
Correct, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. There's a lot to that.
Yeah, okay, I'll wait.
Every change order depends how it goes. Every change
Yeah,
order
yeah, it has a
tends
date
to be
associated
added.
with it, so, yeah.
You know,
yeah,
typically, a CM doesn't get that far into that
Okay.
stuff. They just continue to have that end date and manage that.
Mhm.
Because the nickel and dime thing kind of isn't a 149 approach.
But it's just it's part of the criteria,
Yes,
that date
yes,
is, all right?
it is, yes.
Yeah, because don't forget the CM, they have their own contingency as
You're
well.
correct, so either
Right.
one of us, right,
Right, yeah.
right.
Yeah, and the schedules are created because they know they have to get there and they know things happen along the way. And their job is to manage all that and deliver the building. At the end, they say that they deliver when they said, and they work through a bunch of things and they still deliver when they said. That's part of what they want to hear at the end.
Mhm.
The CM does.
And that's the good part of it, you know, the CM being part of the design process.
Yep.
is they know,
Yep,
like, they know what they're getting themselves into. They're not just, you know, working with the designer, you know, through that entire process to make sure that they're,
so CM would, excuse me, the OPM would make the judgment whether or not more time is allowed?
Yes,
With-
actually, designer and the CM,
Okay.
and the OPM.
Okay.
Does, yes. Because that will be submitted with a change. The contract date
Yep.
will be changed by X
Exactly.
days.
Oh, right.
And that's part of what they submit
Mhm.
that gets reviewed and approved or not approved.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Another question, and a big part of this is the phasing, because we have to keep the operations going and everything else. Are we offering the phasing to him, or are you asking him, the CM, to provide you phasing? So some,
You all have hard questions, don't you?
they have to develop it.
Yeah, they develop
They
it. So we give them a duration now that we believe
But is that-
incorporates that timing.
but is that part of the response?
No,
It's not.
what they're gonna provide, well, in their technical response, they're gonna provide how they believe this project is going to go. They don't know a
In a
ton.
narrative.
In a narrative, in a schedule, and drawings, you're gonna be surprised how much information you're gonna get in their response. Not the qualifications response, but the technical response.
Technical, yep.
Right, so, but they don't know a ton about the project yet. They don't know whatever the constraints are that we know, because they're just getting what we send them in the solicitation document. So, the more they get into it, and as they approach the submission of the GMP, and they work with the design team to create what that phasing plan is, because they want that phasing plan to be on the documents, because they want the file sub-bidders or the trade bidders, 149A, to own that phasing
Phasing.
plan as well.
Right.
And so, and they want it to be their phasing plan. So that's how that will work.
That's another reason why I think probably during that site visit, I personally like to be there to see how they react.
Yep.
To see how they think this can be phased.
Yep.
Because that's the key to this.
Yeah.
Really, if they can do it a lot quicker in bigger phases, great, but you still gotta keep everything operational.
Right.
And we can't shut anything down.
Right. They're only gonna know what their first impression is gonna tell them, though,
Yep.
at the meeting.
Right.
You know, they know how to do this, you know, well, they'll show us that they know how to do it. But as they get on board and they continue to develop and learn more about what the operation has to be and what the criteria is there and all
Yep,
that.
yep.
That's when that plan will really be meaningful.
Correct.
They're gonna react and they're gonna put something on the plan, they're gonna show you, based on their experience, how this can go. And they may miss some things with that because they're brand new to the project. So, you know, we have to review what they provide and appreciate that they don't know a ton yet. And so they may miss some things, and to not say, you know, this was stupid, you know, because they're trying to show their thought process and those kind of things to come off well and provide a well thought out technical response.
Okay. I'll be quiet for a while.
Anybody else have anything for Steve?
Which Steve?
Yeah, which,
Thank you very much. That was very thorough. All right, next we have an update from the designer architect. Amy, that would be you.
Sure.
Welcome.
Thanks. So, yeah, we've been making a lot of good progress over the past few weeks. One of the first steps that we had is to build a three-dimensional architectural model, which will become the basis of everyone's work coming forward and putting together the construction document phase. So our team at the office has been working on that. We've been gathering existing documentations, existing drawings. We've been going out into the field and taking measurements. Rick and Renato from our office were out at the DPW and the town hall earlier this week, measuring up and making sure that the drawings that we have are all accurate, and a good base for moving the project forward. Last week, we took a tour with Tim McInerney and some members of the DPW staff, walked around the buildings, asked them some questions, sat down with Tim, reviewed the floor plans to go over some questions that we had, and get some feedback on all of that. So that went really well. We've had our structural engineers, our mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection engineers go out to the town hall and to the DPW to also look at the existing conditions and move forward with the construction document phase. We have a couple other site visits, as Steve mentioned, that we're trying to get arranged, and we'll talk to Keith about it, to get our code consultant out to take a look at the buildings, and our civil engineers to look at the buildings. We today had a coordination meeting with our civil and structural engineers to talk about next steps. We're starting to develop a schedule for this phase to work through deliverables with all of them so that we can make sure that we can hit the next targets. And then in the new year, the next thing that we're going to really focus on is getting our operations and maintenance facility consultants out. They come out and they look at all of the equipment in the existing building, do an inventory of the kind of condition it's in, if it's good for reuse, if it needs to be replaced, if they would recommend replacing it in the near future, and also to look at what the infrastructure needs are for any of it. So if any of it's getting moved to a new part of the facility, we know what the mechanical, electrical, plumbing connections are, if there are any structural requirements for that piece of equipment, that we have all of that inventoried and organized, that we can give it out to the design team and make sure that they have all that information as they put their construction drawings together. So I think we're off to a really good start to meet that 60% CDs deadline in February, and we're just going to keep pushing to move the project forward.
Excellent. Any questions? But
Of course, me. So, in going through this, have you looked at, you're getting feedback along with the DPW people. Can we look at and see any of those drawings or as they proceed? Only because I got a lot of talking to the last couple of weeks since I've been at the town meeting. People aren't in love with the glass tower, as they call it, the skylights. And there's other ways of solving that I've done in the past, but that type of thing,
Okay.
you know? I know that people want light in the office and in the office building. But those, like they are at the library, but they are blocked up now because it gets so much sun in it, they're probably having a problem. And it's, maintenance-wise, it's difficult, construct-wise, it's difficult. Takes more heating and air conditioning to take care of it. So there's other ways of solving it, which I hope we can do.
Would the request then be for progress renderings as part of their deliverables along the way?
I don't care, send it to Lawrence.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hadn't heard that feedback yet. So that's good.
I've heard a lot of feedback.
I
Too
think
much.
I think as we put the schedule together, I think, we probably should have some more conversations with Steve and with Keith about some deliverables and when it makes sense to make those presentations.
Yep.
But I think, we certainly want you to be happy and to make sure that we're meeting all the needs of the department as we move forward, so.
Well, and again, I think it's valid because they're in upstairs and they don't get any sunlight, and if the door's closed in the office in front of them, they don't see, they don't know what's going on outside unless they.
Yeah.
And by reversing it and taking the offices and putting it on the inside and having the people in the outside alongside the outside wall, you can do that. But you have to take sections through the building to show how that's gonna work with the different roof heights and the office roof height.
Right.
And along with the mechanical equipment that we have to put in and hide and everything else. So
Right.
that's
And- yeah.
my concern.
Yeah, and I think, part of the work that we've been doing, taking the measurements and making sure that we have all the existing drawings and that we get this base drawing right so that it accurately represents existing conditions, that's the first start to get on that path. And this really becomes such a huge part of the work that we do moving forward. It becomes, as I say, a coordination model. We're doing the architectural model, but then every other discipline also does a model, and we merge them all together so that we can look at how all those systems interact, and we can make sure that we don't have conflicts with mechanical equipment, that we're not having windows that look out on a piece of mechanical equipment, all of that. So, yeah, I think the next step, as I say, if we can just sort of look at the schedule and figure out some deliverables and how we can look at some of those design questions that you have.
Okay, and this is scheduled to be completed at 60%. You're not doing construction drawings, you said construction, but you're not doing construction drawings. huh?
Well, it's 60% CDs, so that's 60% construction documents.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's different than what I thought.
But NFCs, right, they're not. they
That's
don't-
in our favor.
Yeah, we're beyond conceptual.
So we're set, and we have a number, by the way, don't we?
Yep.
So conceptual's done, you're into actual CDs.
The goal is when we get to this to this level of 60%, as Amy was describing, is to get a good estimate
Yeah.
Right.
based off
Yeah,
of
yeah,
those
yeah.
drawings. You can go to
Yep. Yep.
proceed to
Okay.
the next steps with the town. Yeah, but to Amy's point, we look at the whole building holistic. You look at all the systems, not just skylights. We look at natural lighting, artificial lighting, mechanical systems in 3D. That's why Amy was saying we have this built in 3-dimensional. These buildings.
Yeah.
This is what we've developed, and we've done quite a bit of work here. It's developed these buildings in 3-dimensional, so you can see how these spaces these systems interact with each other. So
And
it's
then you do clashing interference and.
all of that, yeah,
You do the ability, well, probably. not.
all of that, yeah, we linked all of these models together in Revit, mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, structural, and to see where the issues are.
Yeah.
But to your point, yeah, skylights are, a big component in terms of how do you provide natural lighting into the space? And how do we make sure that, maintenance is a big issue, and making sure that these roofs don't leak.
Yeah, right, that's another issue.
Yes, all that
Right.
stuff, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
We used to do what we called an ability matrix. It's
Yep.
maintainability, accessibility for equipment,
Mhm.
safety, ability. In other words, make sure everything is safe. But you're doing that with a 3D model, which
Correct,
would
yeah,
be
Right.
good.
and durability too.
And
Yeah,
durability.
Yeah,
But the maintainability is usually the problem, because no one thinks about that.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, yeah.
It's okay, I think about it all the time.
Yeah, and especially you. But I would think, that we need to make sure that we get what we need, but at the right number.
Yeah, right.
I can see a great deal of expense in that skylight and the other that they had on the original, conceptual design. That's my opinion. I think you need to take it out and do it other ways. Either through switching offices, or putting offices with side lights and glass, or whatever. But,
Your point is well taken.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right, now I'll be quiet again.
Why don't we take a look at the first cut on the deliverables, and then we can adjust from there.
Yeah,
I think that's
a good idea.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right, anything else for Amy or Rick? Okay, thank you. Next, we're on to review and discuss outreach. For the-
Yeah, so the outreach, as you know, January 2nd, in
Yep.
front of the men's club. It's 9 o'clock, Justin, I believe.
I thought I had 9:30.
I think they do donuts at 9.
Donuts at 9. Well, you have to get there for the donuts.
don't be there at 8:45 till 9:30.
Yeah, and
Guests
they
don't have to pay the $2.
No, I know, but there's a lot of us, so
Yeah.
it may change.
So,
So they start at 8:30.
No, they start at 9:30. They have donuts at 9 until
Oh, okay.
9:30, and the program starts at 9:30.
Program starts at
Right?
Okay.
usually we get about an hour, but like the last couple I've done with them on different subjects, like 15 or I'll do 15 or 20-minute presentation.
Bless you.
And then we answer questions for
You're not allowed to ask any.
a fair amount of time.
You're just answering
Well,
Well,
them.
if he pays us $2, maybe. But,
I have to pay $2 to ask a question.
Are you a member?
Not yet, but I'm gonna be one so I can ask questions.
no, but I mean, so I think it'll be, and I think another piece of it, and we haven't actually brought this up with Tim yet, was to we'd like to have Tim be there also, because it was an introduction for him to that group.
Sure.
But I think this is good, and I think, maybe Amy, I know it's coming up quick. We can certainly use the slides and stuff from the previous architect, but if you have anything new and you wanna, share that with us, that's great, we'll get that stuff in.
Okay.
But I mean, it's only 2 weeks away, so we don't
Yeah.
really expect that, so. But, and you're obviously welcome to come too if you like.
Okay.
Stephen too, of course, but, like I said, they're a decent group. Like, we can take 15, 20 minutes and go through the history of MFOC and what we've done over the summer and, talk a little about that. And then I would imagine that majority of the questions will probably be related to DPW, work that they do just as much as they're gonna ask us about buildings. So, I think it'd be,
You're gonna ask about cost too.
yeah, they'll definitely ask about the costs. We'll share the budget, we'll do
You're gonna
all those
wanna
things.
know.
We'll talk about town hall and what our plan is for that, so, yep.
Are there any other groups similar that we should be talking about here too, like the men's club, for instance, and League of Women Voters or anything? Any other?
Business associates, like, I don't know,
Not really too sure, to be honest. I mean,
is there anything
like,
done?
not a whole lot of resident groups.
Right. My understanding is the men's club came to us and asked.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Men's club, yeah, they like to know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Right. Right.
Bill Davis is in the building every week and he always asks him about something, so I think we talked to him about that a while back. Actually, we did talk to him about it a while back, but they were booked up for a while, and then he
Yeah.
came to us and said they had this opening, so,
Very competitive schedule.
yes. They're booked out for months
Mhm.
typically.
Really?
Yeah, yep.
Maybe worth the $2.
There you go.
Yeah, good programs.
Well, it sounds like then the majority of the outreach will be through the campaign committee. Then is that
Probably.
yeah. All right.
So then, I guess just with that, I mean, if everybody's gonna attend, that's great, or the majority of us, and just, we'll
Posted as.
post an agenda and we'll have that question for the, the vote for the selection committee, whether it's before or after the meeting.
Right. Right.
Probably before, probably do it right at 9:00. That works.
And I think it shows a lot if we're, if the majority of us are at that meeting to, it shows the importance of the project and, really emphasizes our commitment to doing it and doing it properly and transparently.
Yep.
That is all good stuff. All right, next item, other business. Anybody have anything?
Just, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Good, no, I've done enough.
We were talking about having meetings at the DPW station. Has there been any more thought given to that?
Yeah, I definitely think it's something we can do. I think I just have to spend more time with Tim and Nick Rebecca on doing that there. Like I said, my only concern, like, truly is the winter month
right.
piece, right? So if there's a, we just have to think of what the process would be if they're in the middle of snow
Yeah, yeah.
operations, changing the agenda. And I mean, we should be able to weather forecast that well enough that we could change the agenda that day, but I think that would be the only caveat. We can make that happen. As long as, well, Mark and you can handle that too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Which would bring us to a meeting schedule. What are we looking at now? January 2nd, obviously.
From your chart, Steve, where do you see the meetings happening on this time frame?
Oh, good question.
Probably somewhere between the 2nd and the 9th, correct? Because we want to establish the short list.
Yeah, did you say where or when?
When?
When, okay.
And I guess where too, but I guess it's gonna be here until, let me see if we get it.
Yeah, I mean, just as we said, the 2nd is when the responses come in, later that day at 1 PM, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Whatever works for,
Well, the 8th is a Wednesday, so it'd be a regular day
Yep.
for us, right? So do we want to do Wednesday the 8th at 5:30?
Yep.
And that aligns with your shortlist for the 9th.
Yep. And RFP to the shortlist, informational meeting is something at the two site locations, which, you know, if you guys want to attend, we just have to post it as a meeting. If we have a lot of folks attending, if you don't think we'll have, more than three or more? Three.
More than 2.
So
Yeah.
on the 13th.
Yeah, so that's informational meeting, yeah, so whatever, if you guys want to attend. and-
I would actually, what time would those be? Do you have any idea? I would actually be available because I'm gonna be out.
Yeah, it's not posted, so we can create what that needs to be and how we might best go about accomplishing it. So
Okay.
I don't know is the answer not yet determined. So we can formalize that on the 2nd. And so the response is due on the 24th, and that is a Friday. And then the interviews,
Obviously, January 30th.
on the 30th, so between 24th, so early that week, 27, 28 is when we would like to meet. So we can notify folks.
For their interview.
Yeah,
Is that enough lead time? I mean, is that generally how it's done? It seems
Yeah.
kind of short.
yeah, and it's posted that way.
Okay.
Yeah, we give them a heads up.
Yeah, it's all posted in what they have right now, so, yeah.
So on the 13th, is that one site meeting? for
Yes.
Everybody?
Well, it's one site meeting and everybody attends it. And they all hear whatever it is that we present and decide,
Okay.
you know, how we're gonna orchestrate that.
Right.
Yes. So that, early in that week, 27, 28th, if that's possible, maybe the 28th, maybe, to meet on a Tuesday night?
I can't meet on Tuesday. I have select board.
Let's select board that night. Unless,
The
Okay.
27th.
unless we left it, unless we met early.
28th?
I mean, we
27th?
could do 5:30, but
27 is
then
Monday.
I just
Can't
don't know
do-
how long
yeah,
it
or-
would take.
yeah.
Like, I don't know exactly what we're doing at that meeting.
I'm okay with the Monday, the 27th.
So on
I
the,
don't think Keith.
what do you see the 28th meeting being, that meeting being? We're just reviewing the responses from Friday.
Yes. Working through interview questions, structure for the interviews, you know, that sort of thing.
I mean, have a meeting. I can come if I'm not here on Monday.
Well, we could do it Monday.
We can do it, but, I mean, I'm available
I thought
Monday.
Monday was not good for people.
Monday's not good for
Good
you
for
guys,
Keith.
right?
No, I don't think it was Keith.
That Monday
I think it was,
is
like, these
okay.
guys.
That Monday's okay?
Yeah.
All right,
28th?
27th.
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 Is that at 5:30?
That works for everybody.
So the 30th
Is that all that?
would be the interviews, so that would be a meeting.
Mhm.
And, you know, depending on how many interviews there are and how that timing works, you know, we've all done this. Sometimes you chat for 30 minutes after, or you come back the next day. You know, sometimes while everybody's there and assembled and fresh, you just say, okay, let's talk through it and do it. You know, everybody's done that, so.
So the 30th is what day of the week?
Thursday.
Thursday. So would we be, I don't think a room like this is gonna be adequate.
No,
Probably the select.
Selectmen's room would be,
select board room's open at this point.
okay.
Actually, Affordable Housing Trust is in there, Justin, we could probably get them to move,
We
right?
could move that. They're little. They can come in.
Okay,
But we could,
busy month. Anybody have anything else?
Do we need to meet with the architect in between? Or is there ongoing meetings? Or,
So what
I mean,
a couple things that we're planning along those lines is we've got a couple of meetings that we want to get set up with Keith and Tim. And what how we're structuring that is to kind of go through project informational stuff, and then bring presentation stuff to this group. You know, that's how we see the flow happening there. So we haven't quite gotten to, and you guys can certainly speak to that, what we may bring in January. We have to bring something, because in February it's due, so, yeah, so we're working on that.
Okay,
Unless you've got more
because
ideas.
right now,
Yeah, I think we should talk.
if we look at these seem to be pretty heavily involved in the CM side, and we're not getting any other input on regards to the design
Right.
or some of the other issues that may occur.
Yeah, I mean, then most likely we'll work a regular meeting in there.
Yep.
In that schedule somehow in mid-January, I would say.
Right, because I don't wanna go down the road at 60%
Of course.
on something that we have, that,
Yep.
you know, that the CM comes in and says, oh, no, it's not the number that you guys think it is. That's my fear.
Well,
'Cause we don't
they're
have the
design,
input
so,
yet.
so Steve, so to help you with that, they're designing to the number.
Right. The number's a
So
number.
that's the important piece, like they're designing to the number. And, you know, they're going through that process and, you know, if,
Okay,
If they
You know,
can't do it to
that's-
the number, then
that's the number,
you told me, design to the number.
designed to the number, yep.
Remember that.
Don't worry. That will not be an
I've
issue.
heard that before. Okay,
All right, you good? All right,
I'm always good.
anybody have anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded?
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
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 Opposed? So voted. Thank you, everybody.